Hello, this is David Wolfskehl, and I'm here along with Phil Whitman, and we are the leadership team of Whitman Business Advisors. And one of the questions that we've been hearing consistently lately is our firm sustainable and viable moving into the future? And today we're going to share some of our insights and some of those conversations we've been having. And so, Phil, why don't you discuss what those conversations sound like with these managing partners?
Thanks, David. Recently, we've been getting a lot of phone calls from managing partners, and their firms seem to be at an inflection point. There's a lot of concern as to, is my firm viable? Do I have enough bench strength? Do I have a future rainmaker and business developer in my firm? Is my IT up to snuff? There are just so many things that are causing firms to question whether or not they can move forward into the future. The demographics within the firm obviously affect things, as does partner alignment. So David, why don't you share a recent study that we performed for a firm and give our listeners a view as to what something like this would look like.
Thanks, Phil. So we've been doing some sustainability and viability studies, and our process is one day we go in, we evaluate the firm, and at the end of that day, we give our results so that that firm has a much clearer understanding of not only are they sustainable and viable moving into the future, but what actions they're going to need to take to increase those odds of success. And so some of those things that we look at in our sustainability and viability study include things like IT. This is not the time to be a laggard, right? What does your recruiting look like? Do you have future partners on your team? And are you training them to maximize their ability? Do we have future rainmakers in the group? What are those demographics of the partner group? And does the partner group have the mindset to invest in the future? Or are they looking to maximize what they have today and sort of make it into a cash cow? Another final thing that we always look at is, are you open to having alternative sources of revenue? So that is our sustainability and viability study, and those are the key areas that we look at. Phil, you want to share some additional insights?
Yeah, so David, actually I'd like to ask you some questions about that. So if I were a managing partner of a firm and I had, one or two younger partners and maybe 3 or 4 partners are around my age, maybe early 60s, late 50s, and maybe even one, closing in on 70, typically what might be some of the concerns that are brought up by both the younger partner group and the older partner group?
So, and many of these concerns are two sides of the same coin. So the older partner group is wondering, will the younger partner group be able to afford buying me out and to be sustainable? The younger partner group is thinking, is that buyout's fair based on today's marketplace? So that's one thing. The other thing that is oftentimes a concern of the older group is, we're the rainmakers in our group. Do we have anybody that's younger that can take over some of those rainmaking responsibilities? Because again, for a firm to be sustainable, new business needs to be part of that solution.
Thank David. And one of the things that I always see is, we'll go into a firm and they'll say, yeah, we got 3 young, high potential future partners, and we have a partner that's, 49 and a partner that's 51, and we think we can do it. And typically in the back of my mind is, one of the things that we fail to recognize sometimes, we're very hopeful, very optimistic, and that's that life happens. So some of those high potentials may never make it to partner level. They may win the lottery. They may be wooed away by a recruiter. They may have other dreams that we are unaware of. So one of the things that we frequently add to this sustainability and viability study is a full staff survey where we, in an anonymous fashion, give the staff an opportunity to comment on all the critical areas within a firm. And there's something called the iceberg of ignorance. And what most people don't realize is that leadership at the firm typically only knows a very small percentage of what's going on in an organization, but it's really those younger folks. So this survey is critical because you might think you could do it, but do you have the trust and the confidence in the younger group to do it as well? So, David, I'd like to throw out another question to you because, one might believe that, the younger partners are always of the mindset of it's my turn now. You've made, bundles of money as a senior guy, and now it's my turn. I think most frequently, we've been engaged by many firms where younger partners aren't of that mindset, and perhaps you can share, one story where, the younger guys are the ones that are saying, hey, I think we should merge.
Right. So I think, one of the differences is oftentimes the younger partner has a much longer time frame. And so that they see that the industry is changing and changing rapidly, and they embrace the idea that being in a larger firm will bring them actually more opportunities. And oftentimes the founding partners took that step to do something on their own. They were very entrepreneurial. And the next generation partners oftentimes aren't as entrepreneurial. They were hired by that firm. Sometimes they spent their entire career at that firm, but never left off the ledge where they weren't sure if they were going to receive a paycheck. So although some people think it is their turn and they want to remain independent, many younger partners see the advantages of being part of a larger firm, and it fits better where they came from.
One of the things that we always say at Whitman Business Advisors is it's your life. And we mean that. It is your life. And we believe that we are, as a profession, at a critical juncture where you need to do an assessment and you need to determine whether or not you've got the staying power, whether or not, you have all the arrows in the quiver to remain profitable. We're all hearing about, margin squeeze. We're always giving our staff raises every year. We're not getting corresponding fee increases with our clients. And while at times top line revenue is growing, typically bottom line revenue or net income per partner is not growing accordingly. So, David, you had mentioned, does the partner group have a mindset, and are they open to other revenue streams? Why don't you share a little bit of the work that we've done with some of our clients, and perhaps a couple of ideas that our listeners might be able to implement?
Great. Thanks, Phil. So what we're seeing is that we have a concept that we call the practice growth multiplier, and it's a way to add additional revenue without adding additional staff or adding additional clients. And we look at it as revenue per relationship. And so your clients want more from you. You are the trusted advisor. And if you make recommendations, they are much more likely to take them. So we've helped some firms implement wealth management, very natural if you have that mindset of understanding what they have, what their goals are in wealth management. But it's even more than that. We've helped firms implement IT for their clients, which is a very fast-growing part of the world and part of the industry. It can be anything from investment banking to merchant services, and then certainly even some of the traditional CPA type of services, we find firms are much more passive about than proactive. And those can be things like R&D tax studies, cost seg studies, and things of that nature.
Yeah, David.
So, Phil?
Yeah, I was going to say, as a matter of fact, we have one client that did, a whole slew of employee benefit plans, and it was scattered about amongst the firm. And, one of their solutions to added profitability and gaining additional staff time was actually outsourcing this work to another CPA firm that had this specialty and a fee sharing relationship where now they were no longer doing that type of work, but they were receiving revenue for it. So we need to get very creative. We need to think of how we could do things more profitable. And at Whitman Business Advisors, we have created, as David said, the practice growth multiplier. We have put process around assessing the sustainability and viability of your firm. So, give us a call. And David, I really appreciate, the opportunity to have this conversation online with you.
Great. And Phil, one thing that we also believe, because you said earlier, that's your life, right? This is a sustainability and viability study, right? But the results of that study is up to each firm. And if somebody wants to remain independent, we truly believe that they can, but they won't be able to remain independent in the long term by continuing to do the things in the exact same way they've been doing. So this report isn't about just selling into a larger firm. It's about getting what you want, but making a plan to create that. Thank you very much.
David, have a fantastic day.
Thank you.